doing what is this Kramanishta, what is the way in which you sort of can reach that ultimate level, have that, so Sarva Karma Sannyasa, and then you have that Jnana Sadhana, and then Ajnana Nibriti, and you reach that ultimate stage. He's explaining that Jnana Nishta Sapakar Uchyate in the three verses 52nd, 50, 51st, 2nd, and 3rd. We have done the Madhusudani of these two verses 51 and 52, not the 53rd. Buddhya Visuddhya Yukto Dhrityatmanam Niyamya Cha Savdadin Vishayan Syaktva Raga Dveshu Vyudasya Cha Vivikta Desi Laghvasi Yatavakaya Manasah Dhyana Yoga Paru Nityam Vairagyam Sam Upashritah Ahankarah Valam Darpam Kama Krodha Parigraham Vimuchya Nirmamah Shanto Brahma Bhuyaya Kalapate. So all these qualifications, and these are mentioned here because so that we can imitate them, emulate them, and try to have them in us. And then we have Visuddha Buddhi, untainted by the Ajnana and the Raga, Dvesa, everything, and Yukta, Yogi. Then you have Sankalpa and Dharya, Atmanam, the mind, Antakaranam. You do regulation, Sabdad, then Vishyang Saktva. Then you try to sort of dissuade your mind away from the external reality, the objects and sources of temptations, Raga, Dveso, Vyudasya cha, and then you also do parityaga of attraction and aversion. Both are bad, both are states of craving. Vivikta desi. Earlier he had mentioned Vivikta desi sevikta because for deeper meditation on the self, one requires a bit of physical distance as well, in addition to social distance, which one has to do during his social life, his professional life, his family life. But a bit of physical distance is also required. Laghvasi, he's kind of temperate. He needs very limited things to survive. He's not very finicky about the material comforts that he requires. Yatavakaya manasaha. And then he has sort of taken care of how he speaks and the physical thing, it all, and the mental regulation and discipline. So, your thought, your action, and your speech, thought, and action, physical movement, all are kind of regulated, which is an excellent. Then, in fact, this encompasses all of Yoga Sutras that we have discussed earlier. Dhyana Yoga Parvo Nityam, having done the external, you look at this Antaranga and Bahiranga sadhanas, all the time meditating on the self and its meaning, Nityam Vairagyam Samapasritaha. And all the time they are kind of established in a sense of jnana vairagya, ahankaram valam darpam, kamam krodham parigraham. These are the things which are here. The top ones are upadeya. So you try to have these, but you have to keep away things what you shouldn't do. Ahankara valam darpam, kamam krodham parigraham. Vimuchya nirmamah shanto. And then, having removed these things from us, nirmamaha, he doesn't have any possessiveness, shantaha, and he has kind of pacified himself, he's at a state of equanimity, then he moves towards. So, first he tries to cultivate the good habits, then he removes the obstructions at the same time. One has to be careful, then he can go for self realization. And we were sort of stuck with towards the end of it, the understanding of the last 53rd verse in Madhusudana thing. So today we'll try to do only Madhusudani, and maybe tomorrow we'll come back to the Sankara Bhashya from where we had left, 49 onwards. We'll look at them. Ahankara Mahakula Prasuta Aham. So what is Ahankara? I come from a very aristocratic family. Do you know that? Mahatam Shishyo Ati Virokta Asmi. And then do you know? I am the disciple of a very great guru and acharya. Do you know who is my guru? I have taken diksha from this person. Ati Virokta Asmi. He's a sannyasi, but he has ahankara. He says, yeah, but I've seen a lot of people, but nobody can match me when it comes to detachment. Look at his attachment. That's why he said that when a saint becomes egoistic, it's very difficult to cure him because he's very sophisticated. Nasti Dityo Mat Sama. And then there is no one, there is no second. I am the one, the top guy. Iti Abhimanam. Balam. Asad Agraham. What is Balam here? It's not physical strength, but interest and curiosity or temptation, any kind of duragraha. That is what is Asad Agraham. Natu Sariram Tasya Swabhavikatvena tyaktum asakyatvat. You can anyway not drop the body. You are doing this. So it's not about that physical thing. You need a bit of it to continue. But however, what is mentioning here of importance here is that duragraha, that is bala. What you shouldn't do, you're trying to do it. What is darpa? Harsajanyam madam. Dharma atikrama karanam. Now, what is that darpa? When you are happy, you are a little super excited, then you have that darpa. I can do it. You have a bit of a certain kind of an excitement. Madam dharma atikrama karanam. Hrishta drishyati drupta dharma atikramati iti smritehe. So, Hrishta dripyati, a person who is in a happy state of affairs, he is the one who can do darpa, who can actually have this sahasa, dussahasa, that I shall do it. He has a lot of wrong kind of courage to move on and do. It's arrogance, that darpa is essentially arrogance. And he violates the moral code of conduct. Kamam, Visaya Vilasham. And what is desire? Having more of sansara and Visaya, whatever sense pleasure, objects of sense pleasure. Vairagyam samupasritaha iti anena uktasyapi kamatyagasya punarvachanam yatnadhikyartham. Why is he talking about vairagya? He has already mentioned earlier. No, he's saying one should pay more attention to this vairagya thing, because without it, whatever you do becomes fruitless. Then he says, he sort of adds a couple of other things there. Kamam, and then he says, Krodham, Dvesham, Parigraham, Sarira Dharanartham, Asprihatvepi, Paro Upanitam, Bahya Upakaranam Vimuchya Tyaktva. So, what is this? Krodha, Dvesha, and Parigraha. Krodha and Dvesha is very easy to understand, so he's not explaining. What is Parigraha? Sarira Dharanatham Asprihatvepi. So you don't have any Trishna craving for anything. You just want to hold the body. If it's there, fine. It's not there, it's fine. But then, Paropanitam, a lot of people give you a lot of gifts because you are a sannyasi, maybe. And then, Bahya Upakaranam Vimuchya, then you should not have it. You give it to others. So in many of the monks here here, if you go to somebody who brings some sweets or anything, they don't say no. If they don't have it, they'll keep it. But most likely after you leave, they'll distribute amongst people who are around them. And whatever there, they'll just consume what they can, maybe one or two fruits. The rest of it, a lot of people go to them and they'll give it as prasad. So that sort of, there is a long chain. It rolls a long way, goes to other people. Kama tyagasya punar, okay. And then, paro upanitam bahya upakaranam vimuchya tyaktva sikha jagyo pavitadikam api dandam ekam kamandalum kopana chadanam cha sastra abhyanugyatam. So, and then they take sannyasa other than the danda and a kamandalu for taking water or anything, and danda, that is in the Sankaracharya parampara, there is something called dandi sannyasi, paramahansa parampara. They touch the danda and they do tyaga of this in the Ganges, kamandalum. Kopina chadanam, so you have that line cloth and you have maybe a dhoti sort of thing. Sastra abhyanugyata is prescribed by the Sastras. Swasarira yatrartham adaya. These are the basic minimum things they'll have with themselves. Paramhansa parivrajako bhutva. They become mendicants. Paramhansa mendicants, they become nirmamo deha jivana matrepi mamakara rahitaha. So they have this body. You remember that one Shankaracharya was going and there was a Kapalika who wanted to sacrifice his young handsome body. Shankaracharya had no problem whatsoever and he was present there. But after some time, he didn't. Then one of his sisters actually saved him. Otherwise, he would have got sacrificed. Ataha eva ahankara mamakara abhavat, because you don't have me and mine, that kind of feeling or pratyaya abhavat. Apagada harsha visadatvat, and then you don't have harsha or visada, neither happy nor sadness, because that comes out of ahankara mamakara. If you get what you want, but you have to be there to want. So you don't have ahankara. Mamakara, if you lose, you'll feel bad. Or you want to add to what you have. But mamakara is not there. So those things also don't come to you. Tvad chitta vikshepa rahitaha. And therefore the mind is not sort of moving around. Yatihi jnana sadhana paripaka karmena. And that kind of yatna sila, that yati, that sadhaka who is yatna sila, jnana sadhana paripaka karmena, In course of time, this whole means of attaining self-knowledge mature. Then what happens? Brahma bhuyaya, Brahma sakshatkaraya kalapate. So Brahma bhuyaya means Brahma sakshatkaraya, Atma darsanaya, Atma sakshatkaraya, for having Atma sakshatkar, kalpate means samartho bhavati. He's capable now. Okay. Now let's go to the verse number 54. I'm just holding Sankaracharya thing because they will interfere with each other. We'll do this and then tomorrow we'll look at Sankaracharya. Kena kramena brahma bhuyaya kalpate iti tadaha. Somebody might ask, in what sequence Ambari becomes capable of having Brahma Sakshatkara or having Atma Sakshatkara, and that is explained here. Brahma bhutah prasannatma na shochati na kankshati samah sarveshu bhuteshu madbhakting labhate param. He's giving the sequence of things, and it's very simple. Brahma bhutah prasannatma. So all the time he's established in the self and is always happy. Why? He's all the time established in the truth. Na shochati na kankshati. He's never bothered about what he has lost. He's not craving for what he doesn't have. That yoga khyama vahamyaham, because he is handing it over to God. He'll take care of it. He's absolutely not thinking about these things. Sama sarveshu bhuteshu. Then he has an attitude of equanimity towards everybody. He doesn't differentiate, distinguish. He has no favors. He doesn't have any anger against anyone. Mad bhaktim lavati param. So he gets that bhakti. So he's sort of ascending. So getting that para bhakti, that Ishvara bhakti, that ultimate thing. You remember these four kinds of bhaktas we had discussed, right? So you have artha, artharthi, jigyasu, and a jnani. But this para bhakti would be what? Now he becomes a jnani bhakta, and who is very dear to God. And God never drops him, he never drops God. That kind of a relationship they have in the sadhana dasa. Therefore, he's saying he reaches that ultimate thing and becomes completely Atma Paraka, completely focused on me. Atma and Bhagavan is one and the same thing. How does he explain it? Brahma Bhuto Aham. Brahmasmi iti Drudha Nishchaya Van. That is the person. I am Brahman. There is nothing called Brahman. That means he's already realizing that the very consciousness which I'm meditating on, when all the names and forms, all the labels, all the branding processes are kind of discarded thereof. If you remove all the brands which is put on the consciousness, what remains is pure consciousness, and that pure consciousness itself is what is Aham Brahmasmi. Drudha Nishchaya Van Sravana Manana Vyasat. How does it happen? He does Sravana and a Manana. He has not yet gone to Nididhyasana, but serious thing, he has this Parokya Jnana. I am there, he's convinced. Sravana Manana, he has done enough. Atma Sakshatkar is going towards that. So he has a very sure understanding that this consciousness alone is Brahman. Prashanatma, Suddha Chitaha. He's always happy because Samadamadi Abhyasat, because that Mano Nigraha, regulation of the mind, control, and Indriya Nigraha, he also controls his things, and therefore he is very Suddha Chitta. So he is in a very elated state. He has a glowing mind all the time. Atah eva na shochati. And he doesn't have, he is not shokagrasta, na sochati, dukh nahi karta hai. Kyun? So he doesn't want two things, nastam na kankshati, apraptam na kankshati. So he doesn't, something like, for example, you are heating milk and then somebody comes and you are trying to open the door and you got into a conversation, then the milk is sitting on the oven. Then suddenly you turn back when there is some smell, the milk is burnt, isn't it? And that was the only thing you were supposed to have. That's a fasting day and you can't go anywhere. So what happens to you? You go hungry. Maybe there'll be just half a cup of milk left in that pan where you were trying to heat that milk, isn't it? But he isn't bothered. He smiles. And then he comes and cleans his kitchen and gives that half cup of milk, mixes some water and drinks it. But he's not bothered. So, nastam na kankhyati, whatever. And then apraptam. Can I get a little more milk? No, he doesn't have those kinds of thoughts. He just relaxes. Okay, it got burnt, and there was a guy at the gate asking for some help, asking for some address of someone else, and I was helping. And this got spoiled. It's okay, not a problem. Ata eva nigraha anugrahayor Anarambhat samaha. Why he is having samatva towards yoga samatva muchyate, but why he is having that sthita prajna sthiti? Because nigraha and anugraha. Anugraha is, a positive orientation. You want to accept. You're doing anugraha. Nigraha, you're trying to control. You're averse. You're stopping it. Okay. And then neither he's interfering with anyone. You don't do it. You don't do that. The control freaks. He's not a control freak. Anugraha, you please do it. It's very good, and this and that. It'll be very good if you do it. God will be happy. He's not a missionary either. Anugraha, you're anarambhat, and he doesn't do any of these things. Samaha, he's having that equanimity. Sarveshu bhuteshu atma opamyena sarvatra sukham dukham ja pasyati ityarthaha. So, because he has that atma opama, everything is Brahman. Sarvam idam kalvidam Brahma. He has that understanding. And he has no difference. He says, yeah, so this is called happiness, this is called sadness. This person is in a sad state of mind, he's in a happy state of mind, but ultimately they are all atma, and these are all manifestations. It's going to go away. So, like we read so much of war news, and some people can become very depressed and emotional. Some people get super excited and angry, and they do different kinds of things. Maybe they are morally fine, that's not a problem. They are moral anger and whatever, and the people who are in pain, which is real, and the people who are trying to help them, all these are real, external, objective. There's no problem about it. The problem is when you have the mental entrapment. So you can respond, you can do everything you want to do, like you want to make any donation, you want to send any charity thing, whatever, that you can do. Once you get trapped in it, the problem starts, because then it has its own, it starts re-engineering your inner consciousness in a wrong way, and then it sort of limits the way you can connect with yourself. So whether it's a project, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a writing work you're doing, once we get emotionally involved, very often, 99% of the time of the incidences, we would get involved. But what this particular thing is, you don't become unresponsive, you do not become callous, you don't become stoic in the classical sense of the term. You have a sense of equanimity, and yet you are doing your duties. You know what is required and you're doing it, but you're not super excited about it. It's like a very compassionate, kind nurse, and then there's a relative. The relative is crying because her husband or brother or son or whatever is hospitalized. She comes, and then in 2 minutes she's opening her phone and talking to her friends, and then she's busy with everything else she does, and then she comes to the patient. She's taking care. She's all over the place, and then you have a nurse. She's taking care of not one patient, but there are 30 patients in that ICU, and she's taking care of all of them, giving injections, everything. But she has no emotions. She smiles at everyone, and she's doing everything. This wife or sister or daughter or mother, whosoever this lady is, she thinks this nurse is very, she doesn't have any sensitivity. She's very insensitive. But the nurse cannot explain to her that I'm attending to 30 patients. I do it every day. You are here for a few days. You're going to go back when your husband or brother or son or whosoever it is, or father, recovers. But this is my everyday business. But he does it, she does it meticulously. But that particular thing, that she may have some personal problem, her child may not be happy at home, her husband may be needing her presence, she doesn't tell it to anyone. She does a job. That is the kind of state Bhagavan is saying, that you can be there. It doesn't mean you don't have any empathy or anything. But you don't display emotions, you don't cry, you don't get angry, you don't shout at people, and yet you are sensitive. You are responsive, but you're not reactive. So that way we can make sense of it. So samaha sarveshu bhuteshu atma opamyena sarvatra sukham cha dukham cha pasyati ityartha evam bhuta jnana nishto. And then that particular person who is always in jnana nishta, yatihi madhavakti mai bhagavati suddhe paramatmani. He's not talking about Shaguna Brahma as Lord Krishna or anything, but he's talking about the Param Brahma, Brahmani, Bhaktam Upasanam. What is that Bhakta? Bhaktam Upasanam, Bhakti Mitsuri, Bhaktim Upasanam, Madakara Chitta Vritti Abriti Rupam. What is that Bhakti? Madakara Chitta Vritti Abriti Rupam. Please look at it, it's very beautiful. So what happens is, you are meditating on a friend of yours or somebody, okay? So your mind has taken the shape of that particular thing. Tadakara vritti samparna. That buddhi becomes, your mind becomes like that. So it takes shape of that thing. So that is the dheya thing. You're doing dhyana of it. When you repeat it again and again, abriti is abhyasa. That is a bhakti. So every day, why we are asked to do a bit of arati, we light a candle or an incense stick, offer a bit of flower, read a bit of text, do a bit of reading about Bhagavan, connect with him, offer some sweets or anything. Why do we do all this? To retain that abhyasa. So the mind sort of focuses on Bhagavan and gets connected through that means of that sakara rupa, that particular image or that particular symbol, the pratikopashana. And then you connect with the ultimate thing. In order to do that particular thing, madakara chitta vritti abriti rupam paripakva nididhyasanakyam, that particular thing, constantly thinking about the self, that is the ultimate. That's called nididhyasana. Sravana mananabhyasa falabhutam. And that matures, that fructifies after we have done Sravana manana. The nididhyasana, is an outcome of this. Lavate. He gets this particular bhakti, which is nididhyasana. After Sravana manana is over, one is able to constantly think of the self. Param, Sreshtam. This is the ultimate bhakti he gets. Avyavadhanena sakyatkara phalam chaturvidha bhajanti. Mam ityuktasya bhakti chatushtayasya antyam jnana lakshanamiti. So I have talked to Bhagavan is saying that I have told you about this char prakar ke bhakt hai mere, artha, artharthi, jigyasu and jnani. This one who is doing this niti dhyana, he is in the jnani koti of the bhaktas and he's established there. Okay, and so and then when he gets that jnana, without any delay, he will get atma sakshakara, and he will become ajnana nibrida, no more pratibantakas. He'll be liberated. Bhajante mam. Okay, and then he deals with the verse number 55. Tatascha. He's saying what happens next. He's explaining it, and this one will be a little longer. And well, I hope we can finish it. We have still half an hour to do it. Maybe we can go a little further. भक्त्या माम भक्त्या मामभिजानाति यावन् यश्चास्मि तत्त्वतः ततो मां तत्त्वतो ज्ञात्वा विशते तदनन्तरम. भक्त्या, भक्ति के माध्यम से, with the help of the devotion. This devotion is not different from jnana. It's meditation on the Lord, the truth, the Atman. Mam abhijanati, and he knows me without any doubt, without any gap. He knows me, that Atma Tattva. Yavan yascha asmi tattvataha. What am I? To what extent? What is the nature? What's my dharma? All this. Yavan, up to what? And then yascha, what I am. Okay. So both the aspects of me is just one and the same thing. But in the sadhana kala, we have this vyavahara dasa. We use language to understand Brahman. Actually, it's beyond all language. But then, what is Bhagavan? What he's all about? So he knows about it. Tattvataha. He knows it rightly, not with any kind of faulty understanding. Tataha. And then what happens? Mam tattvataha jnatva. When he knows me, tattvena, as Brahman, as Paramatma, when he knows it exactly as it is, Bishate, he enters. Tad anantaram, tad, he enters that. What? That tattva, that Brahman. Tad anantaram. So tad anantaram can be interpreted in two ways. After this sadhana, he enters the Brahma, he enters me. Or you can also say that tad anantaram can also mean that there is some bit of prarabdha phala, and there is some discussion. Even after tattva darshana, some people can have a bit of problems, like they can suffer from physical ailments, there are some legal battles which might chase them, there can be some personal altercations which are coming and they don't know how to deal with it. Like you have a troublesome son, like Mahatma Gandhi had a troublesome son. Swami Vivekananda had a few troublesome relatives who were trying to, displace them from their own house, his brothers and sisters. He was a very disturbed guy, even after taking sannyasa, because he was the eldest son. He had to help these siblings of himself. And then, so you can have these kinds of problems, isn't it? Of great people, they can have botherations, and they don't know how to deal with it. Okay, these are inherited relations. A person may become a monk and then he has a son or a brother or a sister or a parents who want to trouble him. What does he do? He has to deal with them, right? And then there'll be some bhuthana, there'll be some kind of vikshepa. It'll apparent, there'll be apparent, not real. And yet he's troubled because of that prarabdha. Tad anantaram. So when that prarabdha karma bhoga happens, then he gets kaivalya mukti. These are the ways we can interpret it. And there is a bit of tatvartha here, and we'll get into that. Bhaktya nididhya sanatmikaya, that bhakti. So that bhakti is not about pujana or mantra japa or anything, because he has crossed that stage. He's already finished Sravana Manana. So by Bhakti, he's already reached the third stage. And that is that Jnanatmika Bhakti. He's a Jnani. He's not a Jigyansu or Artharthi or Artha. He has left these stages behind. That guy with that Bhakti, which is essentially a form of, which is Nididhyasana, is stated as a form of Bhakti. Jnana Nishtaya, having that, is all the time established in the truth, in the knowledge. Mam advitiyam atmanam avijanati. He knows me as one without a second, because ekameva advitiyam iti sakshat karoti. He realizes me. Yavan bivur nityascha. What is Yavan? I mean, Bhagavan is what? Is he like a small particle? Is he like a small atom? Is a person having that basuri in his hand and he jumps around in Golaka, as some people like to imagine that? These are all Leela Purushas. These are all appearances. Out of his compassion for us, he can take any form in any way. And that's child's play for him. Now, this Yavan Bibhu, where God is there? Any corner? No, everywhere. There's no place where he's not that Yavan Bibhu. And then, past, present, he is in present, not in past, not in future. No, Anadi Ananta. Both time and space, both way. Then he says, Yavan means he's beyond time and space, he's all pervading. Okay, so Vibhuhu Nityasya. So he doesn't have an end or beginning, and there is no place where he's not there. That is the Yavan word, where he is. And then Yasya, who he is explaining. Paripurna Satya Jnanam Ananda Ganaha. Satyam Jnanam Anandam Brahma. And then he says, Paripurna Satya Jnana Ananda. Ghanaha is that thing. It's like Saindhava Ghanava everywhere. You put a salt ball, and Aruni gives to his son and says, okay, drop it in the water. Where did it go? He says, I don't know, it vanished into water. He said, test the water. He tests it. He said, yeah, you see, it's everywhere. It's salty everywhere. Same way, the Brahman is everywhere. Saindhava Ghanavat. So he's just using that salt thing. The salt test is there every corner of that, that rock, salt rock. Same way. Ananda Ghanaha Sada Vidhwasta, and he has been terminated. Sarvopadhi Akhandeka Rashaha. So all the names and forms that Hiranyagarbha, Virat, Sutratma, or Ishvara, these are all names and forms. They dropped everything. That Ishvara also drops. Only Parameshwara is there. Paramatma is there without any name and form. Sarva Upadhi Akhandeka Rashaha. There's only one thing, Eka Rashaha. Ekaha Tavantam cha Abhijanati. He knows that one. He becomes Ekanishta. He's no more confused. And he is Ekanishta. This is only a language, because he is verily becoming one at that stage. Ekanishta, to be Ekanishta, you are Patninishta, means you love your wife. You are Bhatrinishta, you love your established, you are Pujanishta or Adhyananishta, all these things. There is something external to you. Ekanishta, but actually after Sakshatkara, you and that particular object of Nishta is one and the same thing. So this is only a way of speaking it, way of describing that state, Ekanishta. But he verily becomes that one, Brahmavid Brahmaiva Bhavati. Cha Abhijanati. Tataha Mam Evam Tattvataha. So there is still a bit of a gap. That Aparoksha thing is not complete. So he's saying Mam Evam Tattvataha Jnatva. Having known me, he has Tattva Darshana. Aham Asmi Akhandananda Advitiyam Brahma iti. Then he has that Aham Brahmasmi Pratyaya, that feeling. Sakshat Kritya, having that personal experience of it, Bishate, he enters where? Agyana Tatkarya Nirbritav. When he enters me, after Agyana and Tatkarya. What is Agyan ka karya? Kya hota hai? Sansar. कार्य कारण का निवृत्ति होने पर कार्य का भी निवृत्ति हो जाता है. जैसे if you have a pen, okay, it's made of some kind of fiber, some plastic, and if I destroy the fabric or the plastic or whatever, the pen will not remain. So if you remove the cause, the effect cannot stay. So here, the ajnana is the cause of the sansara, this whole prapancha. We see this as real. That jnana is a product of ajnana, or faulty understanding. You remove the faulty understanding, then the prapancha might appear, doesn't disturb you. It's no more true for you. Sarvapadhi sunyataya, and you drop all names form. Madrupa eva bhavati. Mad visate, mam visate. He enters me. What does it mean? Madrupa eva bhavati. He becomes verily Lord Krishna. He becomes me only because he gets that sayujya. Salokya is sitting close to him, but he gets that sayujya. That verily is one and the same thing. Sayujya. Tad anantaram balavat prarabdha कर्म भोगेन देह पातात अनंतरम. तद अनंतरम ही सेइंग जब प्रारब्ध कर्म का खत्म हो जाएगा, बिकॉज वी नो दैट संचित कर्म इज डिस्ट्रॉयड विद आत्मज्ञान, आगामी कर्म विल रिमेन बट ही इज नेवर अफेक्टेड, he is not touched by it, it goes. Sanchita karma is destroyed, aslesha vinashto. So and then papa, purva papa is all destroyed, sanchita karma, and he's aslishta, he's not touched by the external things which happen through his body or mind. So far, after jnana, whatever happens in future, that will go to his shishyas and nindakas. Bad thing will go to the adversaries, good things will go to his, his sevakas, his students and stuff like that. What does he do? And he's just there. Is he liberated? Finally, no. The prarabdha karma is there. Because as we saw, once the bullet is fired, it has to cover whatever the projectile till there is some kind of momentum. So that fellow is stuck somewhere till he gets that ultimate thing. Okay. So karma bhogena deha patat anantaram. Then his body falls when he dies. His physical body gets terminated. Not to jnanam antaram eva. Tad anantaram doesn't mean that he is some other jnana or superior jnana after which he becomes mukta. No, that jnana itself is sufficient. But that body is there. There will be some problem there. Now he will explain what does it mean that thoda agyan rah jata hai. What is the understanding of it? Some people say there will be some agyana lesha. थोड़ा सा बच जाता है. What is it? He's explaining now. त्वाच प्रत्येन एव तल्लाभे. Tallabhe means jnana labhe. Tad jnatva. That is what is mentioned. Means jnanam praptva. Then he's saying prapya tad anantaram ityasya vaithya apata. So somebody might say that tad anantaram. We cannot say ज्ञान अनंतरम, क्योंकि ज्ञान को पाकर मुझे वो प्रवेश करता है. You cannot say that और कोई ज्ञान, क्योंकि ज्ञान को पा लिया है. तस्मात् तस्य तावद एव चिरन यावन न विमोक्षी अथ संपत्ति. This छांदोग्य उपनिषद 6th अध्याय 14th verse 6. So that is 14th verse and 14th khanda. It's there in this 6th adhyaya. Tasya tavadeva chiram. So he continues to be in this body only till that point. Yava na vimokshe. Till he doesn't get that atmajnana. Once he gets it, sampatse, then he becomes perfect. There's nothing else which remains. Iti srutyartha eva darshito bhagavata. Bhagavan is explaining it. Tadyapi jnanena ajnanan nivartitam eva deepena eva tamaha. Like for example, there is darkness in a room and you bring a lamp. Is there any darkness remaining in any corner of the room? No, whole of the darkness goes. Whatever darkness, once you bring in a lamp, the darkness goes. You cannot say in one corner, you cannot say that my hand is visible, my nose is not visible. No, once light comes, everything goes. Tamaha tasya tad virodhitva bhavatvat, because this vijli or light is opposed to darkness, so it will remove it comprehensively. Tathapi tad upadeya ahankara dehadi nirupadanam eva yavat prarabdha karma bhogam anuvartante drishtatvad eva. What is saying? Something terrible. What is saying is, whenever there is anything, there is a upadana, upadeya. So what is the upadana here in this thing? That material out of which is made. That is the upadana. Ajnana is upadana. What is upadeya? No, whatever happens through this sansara, whatever. Now, ajnana tatakarya. that the Atma Ajnana has been removed, then why should be then any effect of avidya in that person's life? He's saying even if it's nirupadana, the cause of any kind of illness or any sadness or any problem in life has been removed, ignorance has been removed, but that fellow sometimes he seemed to undergo some sort of oscillations in his mind and his body, and some illness and maybe some moments of happiness and sadness which are all external because he has already had atmic jhana. But these manifest changes, alterations in his behavior, in his mood, in his health, which are happening, are not real. Even then, they are visible. How to explain that he is saying now. Why after Atmajnana, a Jivana Mukta will ever get a little angry or ever be a little affectionate to somebody or have any moments of sadness? If you look at Swami Vivekananda's letters, even towards the very end of his life, after he has done everything, he's saying dark clouds keep coming. He did suffer some moments of depression. Why should that happen to a Atmagyani? These things, why do they happen? That is what he's explaining here. He's saying Nirupadanameva, even though cause has been removed, it remains. Now he's trying to logically prove it. Yavat prarabdha karma bhoga, so far का प्रारब्ध कर्म है वो अज्ञान अपना खेल थोड़ा सा दिखाएगा. Nahi drishti anupapannam nama, because we have seen that it happens, and he'll give some logical understanding. तार्किकैरपि समवाय कारणनासा द्रव्यनाशम अंगीकुर्वद्भिः निरुपादनम द्रव्यम क्षणमात्रम तिष्ठति इति अंगीकृतम. So what angikritam? So what these Nyayikas say, so let's imagine, so these are two parts of the pen, okay? And there are two karanas of this. Samavai, three karanas, Samavai, Asamavai, and Nimitta. The artisan who makes the pen, the particular guy in the factory, he is the Nimitta Karana. He puts money, material, skill, electricity, machines, everything. The pen is produced. But what are the Upadana? There is some metal here and there's some plastic, some colors are used, okay? These are the Upadana Karanas, material causes of it. What is the Asamavai Karana? These particular two parts are connected, okay? This parts, Avayava Sanyoga, this is the Asamavaya Karana, okay? And then this particular thing is created. Now, if I burn the plastic here, the material out of which this is made, I put that to fire. Will the pen survive? No, it will not survive. Now, however, there is a logical problem. Karya always happens in the succeeding moment. If B is caused by A, what will happen first? The A will happen first, and then B will happen. Okay. Now, the upadana, the material cause, you first destroy it. You're saying for one fraction of a second, the karyanasa, karananasa, karyanasa. Destroy the cause, the effect will be destroyed. So the destruction of cause is now the karana. Karyanasa is the karya, the outcome. What is the input? Karananasha, material cause. You destroy it. What is the output you are looking for? The destruction of the that particular material form, which you are destroying the material for. Now he's saying when you destroy the material, same second, the pen cannot be destroyed. Why? Because that is the effect of destroying the material. So the pen remains for a fraction of a second because that is the effect. So first the cause gets destroyed, then the effect can be destroyed or the product can be destroyed. So it stays for a fraction of a second. Similarly, the ajnana is destroyed, even then the product of ajnana, this whole prapancha and your suffering and your entrapment, that remains for a few seconds. So that could be a few years in a life till the prarabdha dasa. That is what he's saying. Nitya paramanu samaveta dunika nase to asamavai karana nasad eva drabya nasaha. And then we have studied that Dyunuk thing, right? Dyunuk is what? There are two paramanus. Let's imagine this is one atom, this is one atom. Dyunuk is that two atoms come together, becomes a Dyunuk. That is the Prathama Karya Rupa. The paramanus, this paramanu is Nitya, this is also Nitya, and they are Niravayava. They come together, they become Savayava. They have certain physical form. When they come back, come to join each other. Now, this particular upadana karana, no. There is a asamvaya karana. What is that? That dravya sanyoga, paramanu sanyoga creates a molecule, Dyunuk. Therefore, the molecule can be destroyed because the paramanus cannot be destroyed because they are nitya. So karana, upadana karana nasa you cannot do. Can you destroy the atoms? No, you cannot destroy the atoms. So what you can destroy? The connection, the sanyoga, the bond between these two atoms, that can be destroyed. Then Dyunuku is no more there. That is what he's trying to say. So this is asamvaya karana. This paramanu sanyoga is the asamvaya karana. So nitya paramanu samaveta dyunukanase, because the material cause are nitya, so you cannot destroy them. And therefore, what you say, nitya paramanu samaveta dyunukanase, to asamvaya karana nasa deva. So that sanyoga of the two paramanus you have to destroy, dravya nasa, then that particular dyunuk gets destroyed. Samavaya nirupita karana nasa nasatvam ubhayarapi anugatamiti na ananugamaha. Now what he's saying is, so can we have one thing that in case of where asamvaya karana nasa is causing this, that asamvaya karana, sampanna, and out of which what is the karya, and then do you think we destroy at the same time? Is the doubt. What is the need for imagining the pen will remain for 1 second before it gets destroyed after the asamvaya karana has been destroyed? He says, no, that also I can prove. Because he's saying this asamavaya karana, anu sanyoga. Sanyoga of what? Paramanu sanyoga. So isn't upadana karana nirupita sanyoga, that asamavaya karana? Nirupita means this particular sanyoga is sanyoga of two atoms. So the upadana karanas are very much there. And therefore, there is no ananugama dosha. There is a logical fallacy in Nyaya Sastra. If there is some bevichara, it's not there. You're describing something it's not there everywhere. So there will be ananugata dosha. Anugata means it's there, is present. Ananugata, absent sometimes. That ananugama dosha is not there. That means you can say niyata sahacharya. You can see no bevichara. There is no exception. The rule stands. ये तु असमवाय कारण नाशम एव सर्वत्र कार्य द्रव्य नाशकम इच्छन्ति. Those who argue that only असमवाय कारण के नाश से द्रव्य का नाश होता है, that means that material cause, that plastic you destroy, the pen is not destroyed. The real thing is that sanyoga of the parts you destroyed, this karya is like, for example, there is a marriage, so there is a husband, there is a wife. The marriage is not destroyed because they are dead. No, they don't have to die. The marriage will die if they separate. That sanyoga is destroyed. Marriage is destroyed. The company is there. The shareholders don't have to die. They just have to sort of decide, pass a resolution that we are withdrawing. That compact is destroyed. The company is destroyed. So therefore he's saying, sarvatra karya dravya nasakam icchanti. So that asamvaya karana, that sanyoga itself, is desanti tesam asraya nasastale kshanadvayam anupadanam karyam tishtati. How? He's saying this is a beautiful thing. So what happens is, let's imagine you look at this particular piece of paper, right? And then there is this blue color or whatever which is painted on this piece of paper. And let's imagine that this color was actually it's given here, but if you imagine it's a piece of cloth, this color of this piece of cloth is inherited from what? Okay, you look at this. This piece of color is red color. Now, did you actually color the cloth or the yarn? You do the yarn, right? So the fabric was colored, and then this kind of weaved, and you have this piece of cloth. Now, if you destroy the color of the fabrics, you also destroy the color of this particular cloth. The color of this cloth is the karya, and the asamvaya karana is the color of the fabric. Whatever is the color of the fabric will decide how the piece of cloth looks. Now, so there is a tantu sanyoga. The fabrics have come together. Then you have the vastra. Okay, the pata is there, the vastra is there. And then if you destroy the fiber, so first thing, the vastra can be destroyed if you split them apart. So there is this, tantu sanyoga nasha. But the tantu sanyoga nasa will also be there if you destroy the tantu. You burn the fiber in it, the threads in it. The sanyoga will remain? No, that is destroyed. And then this particular piece of cloth is also destroyed if you burn it. So what happens? He's saying after 2 seconds, you will imagine this is getting destroyed. It's a logical thing they are saying. So it also anupadanam, even without any cause, it survives for 2 seconds. एवं च तत्र एव प्रतिबंधक सन्निपाते बहुकाल अवस्थितिः केन वार्यते. And then if there are a few obstructions even in that tattva darsana uttara kala, you have already what is atma, you have that jnana. Even in this next stage there could be a bit of pratibandhakas, like you have some students and they're creating some problem, the government is doing tax raids on your ashram, so you can have these pratibandhakas, it will take longer. Who can stop it? Prarabdha karmanasya pratibandhakatvam shruti siddham antakarana dehadi avasthiti anyatha anupatti siddham cha. First thing is the results of the prarabdha karma. These are obstructions that everybody knows. It's written in the shrutis, in this text. And then I can see it, that even a tattvadarshi, he has a bit of a, he has some skin irritation, he has to go to a doctor. So deha and avasthiti, the mind, they are all functional. So he is definitely not free from the prapancha. He's still trapped there. And it's pratakya siddha. Evam cha sishya sevakadi adrishtamapi. And then there is some bad adrishta of your shishya and a sevaka. They have done a lot of papa. They come very close to you. They might affect the fate of the guru as well, because their prarabdha is also coming closer to him. Tat pratibandhakam tat abhavam apekhya cha purva siddha evam jnana nasa tat karyam antakarnadikam nasayaditi na punargyanam apekhya taduktam. So what happens is that he's saying, even if all these pratibandhakas are there, the jnana which a tattvadarshi has received, that is enough to eliminate these all. For a while, there will be an appearance as if he is suffering, but he's not in any of these. Taduktam. Tirthe swapachagrihe va nasta smritirapi परित्यजन् देहं ज्ञानसमकालमुक्तः कैवल्यं जाति हतो शोकः. Tirthe, whether you go to a pilgrimage, swapacha griheva, or you are dying in the house of a destitute. Nasta smritirapi, you have lost your memory. Parityajan dehan, and then end of the day, you just drop your body. Parityajan deham. Jnana samakalam muktaha. The moment you have Atma Jnana, the very time you are liberated. Kaivalyam yati hata shokaha. This person terminates all his unhappiness and is liberated the moment he has Atma Jnana. Dehatya can happen anytime, but there will be appearance of some sadness, some happiness in the physical domain, in the emotional domain of that person. But he's very liberated. That fellow is liberated. It's like a person has cancer. He's actually as good as dead, but the body remains and it continues for a while. If he has crossed that, metastasis, he's not going to come back. He knows that I'm going to go, but then he's still active. He's doing something. This death is a very slow process. Same with liberation. Already the jnana has happened. Okay, this has set in. It's going to destroy all the prapancha, but something remains, the remnants, and that may appear to trouble him for a while. No janami ityadi pratyastu, then he may have a feeling, I don't know actually what is Brahman. Actually, I am suffering. These kind of feelings, tasya, nibrita ajnanasya, the person who has removed his ajnana, his ignorance, api ajnana nasa zanitad, anupadanat sakhyat atmasrayad, eva eva ajnana sanskarat tattva jnana sanskara nivartyat antakarana sthiti avadehe iti vivarana kritaha. So there are two schools of Vedanta. One is the Avachedavadis, Vachaspati Mishra and others. And there is this Bhamati Mata, and there is one Vivaranavada of the, and so the Panchapadika school and the followers thereof. What they are trying to say is that a person who is already his ignorance has been removed. Okay? Nibrita ajnanasya api jnana nasa janita. Ajnana nasa janita. And then because the ignorance is removed, what is fructifying out of this? Janitat anupadanat. So ajnana nahi raha. तो दुख सुख जो दिख रहा है उसका तो उपादान कारण, material cause is not there. The material stuff is ignorance, that is gone. Anupadana. Sakshat Atmasrayad Eva. Fir दुख सुख उसकी जिंदगी में दिख क्यों रहा है? आत्मश्रयात, अपने आप में आश्रित होके वो अज्ञान जैसे रह रहा है, क्योंकि वो अज्ञान नहीं है व्यक्ति में. There is something, it is there without a foundation. Foundation has been removed. The foundation of suffering has been removed, yet that suffering seems to survive on its own. Okay? Atmasad eva ajnana sanskarat, because this is a remaining impression, sanskara of his suffering, that habit that is repeating itself. Tattva jnana sanskara nivartyat, and then that will be removed by tattva jnana sanskara. He also has tattva jnana. That particular jnana will have his sanskara. It will have his. So the ajnana sanskara, just imagine like this. So there is a particular organization which is spreading some kind of a illness. So there is some malignant cell, it's spreading some disease, and then you took some medicine. So the sanskara of this bad thing, that infection which has entered, is trying to spread through the body. Then you introduce a positive thing, that is the medicine that you have taken, and it spreads its own sanskara, its own impressions throughout the body. The first thing, the jnana has been destroyed, the main virus has been killed, but some effects are there. And these effects will all be nullified by the positive effects of the medicine which is given, right? Can we think like that? Okay, here, your ajnana was there, ajnana sanskara was also there. It's like a tree. The root you have chopped up, ajnana, but the branches of this ignorance are still there, the sanskaras are there. Now the jnana has happened, the jnana sanskara is now there. So the jnana sanskara will actually remove the ajnana sanskara in course of time. It's taking a little time, that's what he's saying. Antakarana sthiti avadher iti vivarana kritaha. And therefore, that is how the mind sort of persists to stay for a while. Aham brahmasmi iti charma sakhyat anantaram aham brahma na bhavami. Aham brahmasmi iti sakyatkar already has happened. Then this fellow says, no, I am not Brahman. Na janami ityadi pratyo nastiyava. That he cannot say, because he has already, if you see that this is a rope, it's not a snake, you cannot again say it's actually a snake. That you cannot say once you have seen it properly. Yadi param ghatam na janami ityadi pratyah स्यात् तद उपादानाय तद upapadanaaya cha iyam sanskara kalpana iti na upapannam. And if somebody says that, no, actually, after you knowing, no, I don't know this particular object, okay, स्यात् तद upapadanaya, to explain it, cha iyam sanskara kalpana iti na upapannam. And then how do you imagine that, where is that jnana sanskara he had? So you cannot explain it. Ajnana lesa padena api ayam eva sanskara vivakshitaha. And that particular sanskara of the ajnana which is remaining, that impression which you say, that disease that we had, some sanskara of the disease is there, some symptoms are there of, this corona, after corona virus has been defeated, the after effects are persisting for a while. That is the sanskara of the disease. And that is called ajnana lesha. That is the word which is used. Nahi savayavam ajnana. But he's asking a beautiful question. Is ajnana having a physical form? That some will go, some will stay. There is a rope, and you saw that as a snake. That is the faulty understanding. Once light is switched on, can you say, no, part of the rope looks like snake, other part looks like a rope? No. It's niravayava. Ajnana is niravayava. It doesn't have a physical form. So once you remove ignorance, it goes fully. That is the argument here. Yena kiyat nasyati kiyat tishtati iti vachyam anirvachaniyatva. That ajnana maya is anirvachaniya. So it is not sad, not asad, and therefore not ubhaya also. Therefore we cannot express it. And therefore, a little will go, little will stay. These kind of things you cannot say because it's not a physical thing. Eka desa abhivogametu tan nibrityartham punascharamam jnanam apekshitam eva. If you say it's a physical thing, is there in one location of your mind you are liberated, another location you still have a jnana, then you have to have another jnana stage to get liberation. Tacha mritikale durghatam. And while a person is approaching death, it's very difficult for him to do Sravana Manana Nididhyasana for another realization. That is very difficult to imagine. Iti tattva jnana sanskara nasyata tasya abhyupeya tasya kasya that particular ajnana, tasya, ajnanasya, that ajnana sanskara which is appearing, that ajnana lesha thing, jnana sanskara, so your medicine and the, the antibiotics you took and other kinds of whatever, you took some, other medicines and certain revitalizers and vitamins and protein or whatever you take, they together will nullify the after effects of the disease. That is the understanding, not another kind of medicine, because that's basically after effects. So you have to deal with the remaining symptoms thereof. Okay, and therefore he's saying, ततश्च संस्कार, ओके, ततश्च संस्कार पक्षात न कोपि विशेष इति पूर्वोक्त eva kalpana shreyasi, and that is what he's saying, that his kalpana is good. Idrisha jivana mukti apekshaya cha prag bhagavata uktam, and therefore that jivana mukti apekshaya prag bhagavata uktam, that upadikyanti te jnaninah tastu darshinah, and these self-realized souls shall give you proper advice. Iti sita pragya lakshyanani cha vakhyatani, and in the verse number, in the last 12 verses in the chapter 2, Sthita Prajnasya Bhasa, and Bhagavan has explained it. Tasmad sadhu uktam vishate tad anantaramit. And therefore, it's very nicely mentioned that once the prarabdha karma, whatever is, and whatever remaining problems in the consciousness are there, once you get rid of it with the help of jnana sanskara, that fellow is very liberated. So we'll stop here, and we can do the Santi mantras. If you have any questions, you can ask. I'm putting an end to the